Serve to me, peeps. What's up? It's me, John D. Villarreal, and Paul F. Villarreal there. I'm the 4-time national champion, and we're talking MMA, and we're still talking about the Jon Jones situation. He is now the new UFC light heavyweight champion. And immediately there were people talking about all kinds of different matchups and super fights and everything like that. And there was people that seemed to be pushing. And, you know, Mr. Fertitta, who's one of the, half owners with his brother, and the CEO of UFC, put something out about MMA. What about Silva Jones on his Twitter? I believe. We're not alleging any facts against his Spurs. Check the disclaimers. In our personal opinion. Now, here's the thing about that. There's two things. One, would I want to see that fight? Sure, why not? Of course. But two, should they make that fight right now? No, absolutely not. Why? Number of different things. One, everybody's been wanting to see the super fight, GSP versus Silva. And Dana White was talking about it, other people were talking about it. I thought it was, supposedly, that thing looked like it was maybe going to happen in my personal opinion. And then you had GSP had some interesting comments on MMA Live. We're going to get to all that next, GSP versus Silva, in the next video. So here's the deal. Why should they not make this fight? Jon Jones just won the light heavyweight championship, okay? He just won it. There's all kinds of other people there. There's Rashad. There's other matchups you could do. You can do Henderson versus Jones, Strikeforce champ versus UFC champ. They bought Strikeforce. There's Machida. There's Couture. There's all kinds of different matches that you can put in there. There's a ton of other people. The light heavyweight, I mean, yeah, it's not as strong as it used to be, but it's still one of UFC's best divisions. You know what I mean? There's a ton of people in there. Forrest Griffin, there's a bunch of people that you could put in there. So I don't see the burning need to make that fight, as opposed to Silva and GSP that have cleaned out their divisions. Now, even if they did make that fight, what did I think about? Okay, Jones is unorthodox, and he's a great wrestler, and he's got pretty darn good striking, and he's very tall, and he presents physical challenges. Do I think that's enough to overcome Anderson Silva? No way. Anderson Silva is extremely dangerous from any point. He's, look what he did to Chael Sonnen, whatever, off his back with the last round submission. And also, his striking is much better. He's elusive. I don't think he's going to be able to get there. I think that Silva will end up, sniping him. And there's, some holes in Jones's game. But, you never know. Anything could happen. The thing of it is like, Jones is a very big 205-pounder. And, Anderson Silva, okay, he walks around at 230. Well, whatever he walks around at, he makes weight, okay, at 185. And that's where he's been for a long time. So, I just don't know. I mean, it's like, to me, why would you need to make that fight? Who's burning for that fight? I mean, Anderson Silva's moved up to 205 and done a number of fights there. When has GSP moved up to fight anybody? Oh, that's right. I don't believe he has, in my personal opinion. So the point is, like, to me, that was almost like maybe a sleight of hand, like a distraction to get the heat off of GSP, possibly. Because there's all kinds of other fights you can do. I mean, Jon Jones just won. There's no need for a super fight. Okay, there's a ton of other things in there. And let's deal with Rashad first. Paul, what do you make of this talk and discussion about Silva versus Jones, and where do you think it's at?
I agree with you. You said that it seemed like something that was done to take the heat off of GSP. I agree with that. There are people who think that the UFC isn't particularly thrilled with Anderson Silva. In fact, that's fairly well documented. And, what better than to get a guy who a lot of people think is unstoppable, and, maybe you take care of him, get rid of Silva, and kind of, lower him down a little bit, and protect GSP. I mean, that could very well be.
Yeah, that's what I think. In my personal opinion, that's what I think is going on. Okay, because I mean, listen, I mean, we'll deal with this next, in the next video. But I mean, GSP is, Silva has said before, he was talking about possibly retiring years ago. Who knows how much longer he's going to do this? Okay, nobody can beat him. There is this documented friction. I don't know where it stands between him and the UFC. It can't. There's almost no way you're going to be able to cut Anderson Silva, because not only is he your champion, he's also known as the best pound for pound guy out there, if not one of the best guys out there. And it just, you can do it, but from a business standpoint, you are really hurting yourself. It doesn't make any sense to do that. It does not good business sense. The only way you can try to maybe get some distance from Silva, whatever, do something, is if you get beat. So why, you know, maybe it's good to put him in there with a guy that hasn't been beat, that's very unorthodox, that has, you know, huge physical challenges for light heavyweights, is bigger than Anderson Silva, and maybe you get lucky. Could someone be thinking that? I don't know. That's up to you to decide, and this is all our personal opinion. Now, we know that, you know, Lorenzo and Dana White are extremely smart business people and great promoters, and they're looking out for the business interests, and I understand that and I respect that. Now, contrast that with the GSP situation, and we're going to deal with this in the next video. Okay, GSP hasn't moved up to face anybody. People, oh, pound for pound, pound for pound. Yeah, that talk has been quieted down because people are starting to get hit to the zone that, yes, he is the dominant, you know, 170 pounder out there in the world. Although I will say I'd like to see him versus Nick Diaz. While, you know, a couple years back I'd say, yeah, it's GSP, but now I don't know, dude. You know, Slick Nick has some very interesting things, and we can talk about that going on, because you know, he presents challenges, particularly I think for GSP, that could be interesting. That's all I can say. Don't sleep on Nick Diaz. Okay, that's step one. Now, step two is, the bottom line is this: they love GSP. The Canadian fans, you know, I mean, I'm sure they're going to sell out Toronto and this thing with Jake Shields, whatever like that. I mean, all of Canada, basically, of MMA fans, it seems like, are behind GSP. If GSP loses, you know, goodbye Canadian market. I mean, not exactly, but I mean, you know, it would really, really hurt. And so, you know, why would they do that to someone who is like, you know, a poster child for UFC? And that's the thing. Like, you know, we're gonna deal with this in the next video, because that's the next video. But the point is, you know, Silva versus Jones. Sure, I'd love to see the fight, but why? And I don't know that that's exactly, let's say, fair to Silva, number one, and number two, I still would think that Silva would win. I'm not sure of it, but I think that Silva would win. I can't handicap that match until we see it, because it all depends on where it is, you know, when it is more actually important than where, and all kinds of different things. So we'll have to see about that. But what do you think about this? Do you want to see that fight? Do you think that do you agree with me that maybe this is a little bit of distraction to get the heat off GSP? Who do you think Silva should face? Who do you think Jones should face? And what about the Dan Henderson equation? You tell me what's up. Comments below, subscribe above. I'm John D. Villarreal. That is Paul. We're Conservative Media, and look for the next video, MMA, where we're going to talk about GSP versus Silva. That's supposed to happen towards the end of the year, and we want to talk about it. We'll see you next time.